Lesson 13.1. All right, it's big day today. We are doing the definition of a derivative. All right, so derivative is the basis for calculus. What the derivative means, okay, is you're going to find the slope of a tangent line at any given function, okay? They sometimes ask you to, find the derivative, okay? We're going to find it the long way today, and then we're going to progress into some rules and some shortcuts. But the idea is we have some kind of function, f of x, right? And we have some point x. And let's say this is our point x, right? So that would be, this point here would be like x comma f of x, right? Now, we want to figure out, the little bit more, x plus h, a little bit more. We want to find out what that, say, slope is, right? The slope of a tangent line at this point. It's going to change a little bit. It's going to be a little bit steeper, okay? So now, our limit definition, it's a bunch of algebra today. So if you like algebra, this is totally for you. But the definition of a derivative, and this is going to come back right in the beginning of school next year. It's the limit as h approaches 0 of f of x plus h, take away f of x all over h. And that's going to do some amazing things. So again, it's like a big algebra fest today. So let's see, example 1, using the definition of the derivative, which is this piece right here, we have to evaluate the following. All right, so we want to find the derivative in a and b. We want to use this definition. So as far as making some steps here, you want to sub in to the definition. Okay, so you want to do f of x plus h. So wherever you see an x, you're going to make it x plus h. So we're going to do 3 times x plus h minus 7. And then we're going to subtract the original function. So make sure you put a parentheses. Okay? And that's going to be all over h. All right? So we subbed it in. So wherever you see x, you replace it with x plus h. All right, so what we're going to do is now we're going to look to simplify. This is where the algebra comes in. So if I distribute this 3, I get 3x plus 3h. Take away 7. And then I have to distribute here. Minus 3x plus 7. And that's all over h. Okay, so let's kind of clean this up a little bit. 3x and a negative 3x cancel out. Negative 7 and 7 cancel out. So it leaves me with a 3h over h, which is 3. Okay, so using the definition of the derivative, we evaluated in letter A, and we got the answer of 3. This is so going to make sense in the next lesson when I teach you the shortcuts. So all I did, fancy algebra. Okay? The next one, letter B. So we simplified, that was it. All right, so letter B, we want to sub into the definition. All right, so we have 3 times, we're going to do x plus h squared minus my original function, 3x squared, all over h, and we're just going to evaluate. All right, so if you were to FOIL this out, right, we'd have 3 times x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Okay, minus the 3x squared. That's on top. So that's going to give me 3x squared plus 6xh plus 3h squared minus 3x squared. But remember, that's still all over h. All right, so let's see what happens. The 3x squareds cancel. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's see if I can clean this up a little bit. Let me take out an h, because I can take out an h here. I could take out a 3 as well. Let me see. But that, you know what? Let's just leave it as taking out an h. Let's factor out an h and see what happens on top. If I take out an h on top, it's going to leave me with 6x plus 3h. All I did was factor right here. And that's over h. Okay, the reason why I did that and not took out the extra numbers, although you could have, the h's are going to cancel out. So I'm left with 6x plus 3h. Now, we have to kind of evaluate as h approaches 0. So as h approaches 0, 3 times 0 is going to cancel out. So your answer is just going to be 6x. Okay? You shouldn't have any h's in the end. They're going to either go to 0 or they're going to cancel themselves out with the algebra. Okay? So again, sub into the definition, simplify, and then take a look. Remember, as h approaches 0, they're going to look to cancel. Okay? All right, next page. So that's basically the lesson. We're just going to now practice this. This is a little crazy. All right, so we're going to try these together. Okay, we're going to use that definition. So remember, we're going to do x plus h subbed in. So our equation, our definition would be negative 4 times x plus h, we sub it in, plus 2, right, for this here. Take away your original. Make sure you put minus and then parentheses. All over h. All right, cleaning it up. Negative 4x minus 4h plus 2 plus 4x minus 2 all over h. Okay, our x's are going to cancel. Our 2's are going to cancel. And look, we're left with a negative 4h over h, but here, let me write it out. Our h's are going to cancel. So that leaves me with negative 4. Okay? All right, good time with the algebra. All right, next one, just like on the first page. All right, so I'm going to sub in x plus h squared minus the original 2x squared all over h. All right, so let's see what happens here. So remember, I get 2 parentheses x squared plus 2hx plus h squared minus 2x squared. Again, remember, that's still over h, but I'm just going to be a little lazy. So 2x squared plus 4hx plus 2h squared minus 2x squared all over h. All right, let's see what happens. That cancels. Let's go to factor out an h again. So I factor out an h. Let me just move this over on top. And it leaves me with 4x plus 2h, and that's all over h. So those cancel. Now remember, like before, this h is going to go to 0, so that's eventually going to cancel out this guy here. So the derivative is going to be this 4x. Okay? All right, so where could it get tricky? It can get tricky when you have algebra issues. So now with letter A, when you sub in an x plus h in for x, this guy here is going to turn into a complex fraction, which is kind of ugly. So we have f of x plus h, so I'm going to replace it, 1 over x plus h minus my original, 1 over x, and that's all over h. All right, so here's the deal. Let me see. My common denominator, x times x plus h. Let's see what happens. All right, so that cancels, leaves me with an x minus x plus h all over, let's see, I have hx times x plus h. All right, so like I said, it's like a little bit of a crazy algebra fest. All right, so when I distribute x minus h, all right, so that's going to leave me with the x's cancel, a negative h on top. All right, and I have an hx times x plus h on the bottom. All right, so what happens is these h's are going to cancel. So now what I'm working with, I have I'm just going to come up here, negative 1 on top, all over x times x plus h. Now remember, this h is going to 0. So adding 0 to x is really just going to make it x. So this is really negative 1 over x times x, or your derivative would be negative 1 over x squared. Okay, so like I said, just the algebra is tricky. Okay, so that unit in Algebra 2 with complex fractions from 2 years ago is coming into play. All right, next one. Again, crazy algebra fest here. All right, so I'm going to replace x with x plus h. So I have parentheses x plus h squared plus 3 times x plus h. Take away parentheses x squared plus 3x, and that's all over h. All right, let's see, factoring this out. I get x squared plus 2hx plus h squared, right? That's from this first part, plus 3x plus 3h minus x squared minus 3x. That's a lot, and that's still over h. All right, so let's try to cancel some things out here. X squareds are going to cancel. 3x's are going to cancel. All right, so it looks like I have h squared plus 2hx plus 3h over h. And remember, I want to look to factor, just to get rid of this h down here, if I can. So h times, let's see, h plus 2x plus 3, all over that h on the bottom. So that takes care of those. Now remember, as as h approaches 0, this guy's going to go away, right? 0 plus 2x plus 3. So your final answer, ignore that h, is going to be 2x plus 3. Okay? So again, it's just the algebra. Okay? All right. So these say you try, which is normally what I'd do if we were in class, but we're not. So we're just going to look to do it together. This one's a little crazy. I think I might have hit it in a more difficult approach in the beginning. So let's kind of go with this here. I'm going to rewrite. I'm going to plug in an x plus h minus my original all over h. Now, if you guys remember from our last lesson, we rationalized the numerator. We're going to go with that right now, just to try to make sense of stuff algebraically. And remember, we can do that as long as we do it on the top. All right, so remember, when you multiply first times first, so that's just going to drop my radical, so x plus h, right? And then negative rad x times a positive rad x is minus x. And that's going to be all over. I am not going to factor anything out yet. Or not factor, but I'm not going to multiply anything out yet in the denominator. Reason being, my x's are going to cancel out. I'm left with an h on top. On the bottom, oh, Rosie, zip it. Awesome. All right, so now, hopefully you can hear me. All right, all I did was keep the denominator because these two are going to cancel. So I am left with 1 over the square root of x plus h plus the square root of x. Okay, so real quick, remember that h is going to go to 0, so that's going to disappear. So what you have is, I'm going to come over here, you have 1 over the square root of x plus another square root of x. So that's going to simplify into 1 over, if you have a rad x plus another rad x, you have 2 of them, 2 rad x. Okay. Whew, that one's a little tough. All right, this next one is a little crazy. I'm kind of debating whether I want to keep the 3 there or if I want to, because nobody wants to multiply that all out. Let's change it a little bit. Let's change it to a squared. Okay, change it to a squared so it's a little easier to work with. All right, so we're gonna take our 2x squared, and we're gonna replace it with x plus h. So we have 2 times x plus h squared plus 3 times x plus h, and then we're going to subtract out our original. 2x squared plus 3x. Hopefully you watched the movie. If you didn't watch the movie, there's going to be people that actually ask me, what happened to the 3? Because they don't watch. All right, that's all over h. Okay, reason why I got rid of the 3 is because I don't want to really have to cube everything out. What a pain. All right, so 2 parentheses x squared plus 2hx plus h squared plus 3x plus 3h minus 2x squared minus 3x. All right, cleaning it up a little bit more. 2x squared plus 4hx plus 2h squared plus 3x plus 3h minus 2x squared minus 3x. And remember, don't forget, this is still over h. All right, so I'm going to look to cancel some stuff out. The 2x squared and the 2x squared, the 3x and the 3x. So again, I'm going to look, I have an h in all of these. I'm going to factor out an h. Actually, let me write it out for you. So 4hx plus 2h squared plus 3h all over h. So when we factor out an h, let's get rid of the h. Now, again, I don't have a bigger number I could take out. But again, we want to get rid of this h. So h on top times 4x plus h, or actually plus 2h, plus 3 all over h. So let's see what's left. I have a 4x plus, let me see something. Plus 2h plus 3, right? Let me just double check my algebra here. I take out an h, 4x plus 2h plus 3. Okay, so those cancel out. Now, that did work out. I just want to double check my algebra. Now, remember that h is going to 0. So if that h goes to 0, that's going to cancel out. And you're just left with 4x plus 3. And that's your answer. All right, loves. So that's the scoop. I definitely want you to try some of the problems that I attached in that separate PDF. Pick a few, make sure you know how to do them. The answers are on the second sheet for that whole sheet. It's all typed out for you. So again, if you're getting stuck, it's definitely on the algebra. Even the best algebra students sometimes, hit a snag, you just don't see it. So like I was kind of a little jammed up here because there's a lot going on. All right, so anyway, enjoy. Again, when I see you next or when I talk to you next with lesson 13.2, we're going to learn some tricks. So you don't always have to go to this length, but you do need to know it for AP Calc because they do refer to it on the exam. All right, have a great day. I'll talk to you guys soon.